everybody, thanks for joining me here at PowerModz. Actually, we're at the Boondocker headquarters today, and I'm here with Rocky Jr. We're going to unbox this turbo kit. This turbo kit is for a RZR 1000 that's going to be installed. We're going to help him install it in this 1000. It's going to be going to Saudi Arabia. I've never unboxed one of these kits. He looked at me a little funny, like, you've never unboxed anything before? I've never unboxed a turbo kit for a RZR. So you're going to tell me exactly what's in here. Yep. And look, most of the things I do, I like to tell people that, you know what, if I can do them, you can do them, because I'm just that kind of guy, okay? I'm not a mechanic. I've never been trained as a mechanic, but I don't mind getting my hands dirty, and I don't mind trying things, right? And I generally make it work.
Okay.
Do you need to be a mechanic to install this?
No.
Could I install this myself?
You could install this yourself, unless you're doing the engine work. The engine work, you need to be a mechanic.
You need to know what you're doing.
Yep.
Because when you're inside an engine, yeah, you can mess things up.
Yep. Yeah.
Timing and dropping nuts and bolts and all that and whatnot. Okay, we're gonna go through what's in here. So this is your controller, right?
Yeah, this is the Boondocker control box. And so this will control the stock fuel injectors. It'll also operate auxiliary injectors to accommodate for the extra power that we're making. We need all that more, that much more fuel. It also is electronic boost control, which is pretty nifty setup. I've got a battery, and you grab this jumper. I can show you kind of how this works. So there's a connector here. Plug a battery in. Some stuff going on underneath there. So this just kind of tells us what it's for, and it's set at 5.2 pounds of boost. So when you use this control box to adjust your boost, you just go into here and it says pounds. You've got the hash mark and then the amount of boost that it's set at. You navigate the little cursor over to it, and then we can turn it up or down.
More boost.
More boost. We always want more.
Yes, more power.
Faisal's probably not going to be happy with anything less than about 12. So that's where we're going to set it. This BTN right here is how much extra boost you can add on the button. The same connector where I plugged the battery in, you can plug
the button?
A push-to-pass button. So when you're holding that button, it would be an extra 2 pounds of boost.
So you just leave this on your dash or somewhere?
Like a nitrous button.
Yeah, there you go. It's very much like that. And so where it's really effective, especially on the sand dunes, is you will be clutched for a certain a certain amount of boost. But when you're pulling the hill, you could use more power. So we'll go through the whoops at the bottom and hit the hill, and then once we're bogged out on the hill, really pulling hard, it can use another couple pounds of boost. Then we push the button.
Well, everybody likes that.
So you don't over rev down in the bottom. So you wait until you're pulling the hill, and then you can add some.
Underload.
It's pretty fun.
Now, you say some of these machines you're running up to 9,000. Yep. Can you set your rev limiter through this?
Nope, this doesn't set your rev limiter. That'll be done in the ECU programming.
Okay. Okay.
Some of the other things that just are kind of unique about the control box. I mean, we have fuel adjustment settings, but this stats screen is pretty interesting. While this is running, it'll display our RPMs, the percentage of the stock injectors and auxiliary injectors being used, the throttle position, and then boost. And we also monitor charge air temperature, and so you can see what your actual charge air temperature is. It also records maxes. This is saying 123,090, or what is that, 12,390 RPMs, which is just on the test bench.
Okay.
And then it'll record your max boost and your max charge air temperatures also.
You build this in-house?
Yes. Yeah,
very cool.
That all gets built here. And then there's some fuel menus. They're really easy to adjust. Everything comes pre-tuned, preset. We put tons of miles on these things all the time, and so we know where to tune them. They're already pre-tuned. Really, if a guy has some special quirk because there's a difference in a machine or a real big difference in the riding area or something, then we'll know exactly where to point him to make it, that fine adjustment. But
well, it takes the guesswork out of it.
one of the other things about this is that it does altitude compensating. So when you go up in altitude, it turns the boost up. When you go down in altitude, it turns the boost down with barometric pressure. So you're always making the same horsepower no matter where you go. So we would ride here at St. Anthony. We're at 4,700 feet. set it at 12 pounds of boost. If I went to Glamis, I would unload it out of the trailer. It'd be set at 10 pounds automatically.
Nice. Your intercooler piping?
This is actually piping to come from the stock air filter to the turbo.
Oh, okay.
This is a charge tube, goes directly from the turbo to the charge air box inlet, which will then go through the water to air intercooler.
Boondocker swag.
Yeah, there will be installation instructions and then some stickers. There's a flag in there for whip. Our instructions are always really simple. We do a lot of pictures. 6 pictures on each page with just a brief description of what to do. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Totally.
I'd rather the picture.
Yes.
So. Now this kit was powder coated custom for Faisal. That's something that we could do for anybody, but we knew we wanted to jazz this one up, dress it up, and so we powder coated them.
Custom colors.
Yeah. This is actually the cooler for the coolant that'll run through the water to air intercooler.
Yes. Do you put a fan on the back?
Nope, this sits in front of the stock.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Piping?
Yep. Water coolant hose for that cooler.
You got your silicone unions here.
We try to bag and package everything so that it's easy to get to. You're not just digging through a pile of hose clamps to find the right ones. We kind of line everything up. If we can assemble it at Boondocker and it won't interfere with the installation process, then we do.
Perfect. That's thoughtful. For sure.
This is probably going to have pistons in it. I don't know.
Sounds good.
This is a clutch kit, so we won't use it on this one because we're using our big clutches. You can open it up and we can look and see what's in there.
Okay, yeah, go over. I mean, this is
standard in our turbo kit.
Okay.
So if you bought big clutches, then we could pull this out and then include. We have a kit that includes the big clutches. So the secondary spring, and then a set of team rooster weights. These are adjustable weights. These are the heavier turbo version, and that's all there is to it. We run the stock helix and the stock primary spring.
Okay. Obviously, all this is customized to whatever it is that you're buying.
Yep. Yeah.
It'll come in the box when you order it. So you've got your wastegate actuator?
Yeah, wastegate actuator. The turbo bracket is in there. Some more hose clamps, the oil feed line for the turbo, various hardware, new exhaust manifold gasket.
Oh, I do like that.
This is a water reservoir and coolant pump for the water to air. This is the stainless steel header, so this bolts directly to the head and then to the turbo. And the turbo is supported by a heavy bracket that's in that other bag.
It's a piece of artwork. I like nice welding. This is really the heart of the beast.
Right there, yep. That's what we came for right there.
That's it. Okay, so the Garrett 2860?
Yep, Garrett 2860, and this has been powder coated also. But again, this is how it comes. We try to assemble everything that we can here. This is the same way in our snowmobile turbo kits. We put everything together that we possibly can. All your hoses and everything are already on it for you. Turbos and
So oil return and coolant lines.
Yep.
And oil in. Yeah.
Scrape some powder out of there.
Well, that's your.
This is our charge air box and water to air cooler. So we can probably open that up and look at it a little bit better.
That goes with the stock gearboxes.
Yep, this goes in place of the stock airbox. So one of the things, and part of the reason we stayed with the water to air and didn't even offer an air to air option was to keep everything concealed and underneath the bed. There's nothing hanging out. There's nothing to get in the way of any toolboxes or coolers or anything we have anywhere. It's just all
And
tucked away.
the water to air intercooler just seems to be more effective.
It is. It's more effective. So we did a lot of air-to-air testing, and on an air-to-air, we could get charge air temperatures that would vary anywhere from 165 degrees on up to 210 degrees. With the water to air, the exact same setup, we just put a water to air in them. Those temperatures would come down to about 120 to 160. And so the range kind of gets a little bit closer, and it's lower charge air temperatures, which is good for horsepower and detonation.
Well, you can run it on more power.
Right.
With an air-to-air intercooler, you're relying on your forward speed and air passing over it to cool your charge air down, right?
Right, and so you have to put the air-to-air out there where the air will get to it, but you also have to run your charge air through it. And so now where you end up with a rear engine vehicle, you end up with it up in the roll bar or off to the side where it's not as effective. This way, we cool coolant up in front of the radiator in the front of the car where it can get all of the air, and then we take that cold coolant and then cool this core. And so we get the same effect as having an air-to-air. We're out there in an optimal position, but it's all tucked away underneath the bed.
Not only that, but I believe, now this brings me back a while, when you're running air-to-air and you're running a lot of piping, every 90-degree bend in the piping for it, you lose your velocity and performance.
Well, volume and velocity both with every turn that we make. It's part of the reason this is all 3-inch piping running into this. It's big tubes that we want to flow as good as we can. They come right into this box. We transition across the cooler. We want to slow the air down. We want to split it up and slow it down through the cooler because then it's more effective. It cools everything better. But then we come into a very large air box. So this is the other thing, you have to have a good volume on the intake side of the turbo. Sometimes the idea is to make it really tight so that you think that it'll spool up and the booster will build faster, but you have to burn something to get the turbo to start up. And so we leave this volume here to get it started, so that's part of the reason that they're so snappy. We have such good throttle response.
It's your down pipe.
Yep, this is the outlet pipe. All 2.5-inch stainless, and
Is that just a...
this is an O2 bung already welded in, so you can run an O2 sensor. That would be optional. We'll put one on this build that we're doing today.
Okay. Very good. Okay, onward and upward.
All right.
Let's move on. And we should just, tell everybody again that everything is more or less custom to their application.
Right.
Like we're doing on this build here, the connecting rods and the pistons and whatnot. That's not part of the general kit.
Right.
Unless somebody orders it.
Yep. This is pretty much a standard kit right here, less the powder coating.
Yep.
But there's options to add that we can add onto. We can build this up and the customer has a lot of latitude to get exactly what they want, what they need.
I would definitely install that. I wouldn't have any issues installing that. Not a problem. Okay, back to the build.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
The turbo kit for the 1000 RZR from Boondocker.